Welcome to Unscripted Gaming. My name is
My
Josh.
name is Mike.
Welcome back to Unscripted Gaming. Welcome to 2016, everybody. We did it. We finished the year. We didn't die. You made it another 300, another revolution around the sun.
Never-ending struggle begin anew.
Yep. So hope your New Year's resolutions are going well. I didn't make one. I never make one, but that's just me. But we're seven, maybe 8 or 9 days in when this podcast goes up. So best of luck to all of you.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're going to get started off here just real quick, kind of recapping what we've been playing over our holiday break. If any games have been catching our mind. I know everybody was probably going crazy during the Steam winter sale, picking up games left and right. Mike, were there any games that you played a lot over the holiday season?
I was revisiting a couple of things in preparation of we're a little behind the ball here, but we've got a Game of the Year cast coming up soon. I was just kind of going over some of my favorites from the year, like Metal Gear, Mario Maker, Rocket League, just kind of touching base on all of those and making sure that my thoughts had not been clouded by time or anyways about that. So kind of just revisiting a lot of good stuff like that. And other than that, I played a little bit of this game called Duck Game, which is real good. That's a damn good game.
Mike, tell me about Duck Game.
Man, okay.
Here, let me rephrase that. Tell me about how Duck Game is probably the best game ever made.
Okay, well, let me just go ahead and why don't you stall while I go to the store page, because I don't know if I can.
You're likely right now watching some footage of myself and probably Mike and a few other of our friends playing Duck Game right now as you listen to this podcast, because the ridiculousness of said Duck Game just needs to be shown, not just told. Let me just tell you. Feature number 1. There's a dedicated quack button. All you really need to know.
Do any other games have dedicated quack buttons? Nope. No, they don't.
If no, then shit. That is the criterion by which all games will be judged on from now on. So if we ever get into game reviews, you know what to look forward to.
Exactly. Just a quick actual gameplay description. It's a 2D multiplayer kind of frantic action shooting game of greatness.
Think Towerfall, but with ducks.
Exactly.
And a dedicated quack button. We've probably had this game maybe, a week and a half, 2 weeks now, both of us, Mike and I. I was on vacation for a while after Christmas, only really been home for a couple days, and I've already put a dozen or so hours into that game because it's just so fun and ridiculous.
It's great. Just the whole package is just...
And the great thing is it usually think about a twitchy 4-person co-op experience like that as really only working locally, but whatever they've got running in the back end and for that netcode wise for online experience really runs well, and you really don't feel too often that the distance is any hindrance, even with the fast twitch muscle fibers required to
not die immediately.
Play that game. Yeah, it's a good ass game, and it's not expensive.
No, it was
and you
only
pick up a
about
4-pack.
$7-8 during the Steam sale, and there's lots of different duck hats, and it's
who doesn't like hats?
No one doesn't like. Wait, pause. That hurt my brain. But it's from Adult Swim Games, and they've kind of produced some real good stuff here, and man, if you've got a couple of friends, Duck Game is so good. Like, I think that it's a testament to, someone coming into us playing the game late and being super bummed that the game is already full. Like, not a lot of other games have kind of invoked that in us lately.
It's okay, well, I'll just play something else instead of, fuck!
It's like,
could have got here 10 minutes earlier.
Duck Game, man.
Exactly.
So that's a real cool game.
Yeah, that pretty much takes up what we've been playing. Very little besides that, and like Mike said, just touching up on the Game of the Year stuff, which we will be recording and posting shortly as we finalize our lists. But did you know, Mike, that 2015 wasn't the only year that had video games or had video game news happening?
Huh?
Yeah, I know. It was a shock to me too. Couple things happened while.
What do you got for us?
Well, my first story that I wanted to talk about that I kind of found interesting was Activision and Blizzard buy MLG, or Major League Gaming, for $46 million. And they say that they are aiming to build the ESPN of esports.
Well, I think if anyone has the certainly the resources to really build a dedicated one-stop esport kind of station, channel, whatever you want to call it, it would certainly be Activision and their parent companies. And I think the really interesting thing is going to be, I mean, what do they do? Are they still going to do CS:GO? Things like that. Like, does Smash Brothers or something have like an MLG tournament? Like, how much? I can't imagine that they would do anything to actively kind of not include those things in an MLG capacity, just because I feel like that would do more harm than good, like, because those communities are so well established. But that's an interesting note. But as someone who, I guess when I think about Major League Gaming, I think it's just it's kind of almost, it just feels weird to not even think about the monster that is the MOBAs. I mean, yeah, a lot of people, CS:GO is very popular, obviously, but it does not have the mammoth following of League of Legends and Dota, and that's where I'm interested to see is, are they doing something to try and, I guess, draw from just that massive following those games have.
Yeah, it's interesting partially because Blizzard already kind of has their own shoutcasting and production behind their games. League has their own production and streaming service and all that. Same with Dota, with the international and now the majors.
They've really only gotten better at those. Just the quality of those productions has only increased year after year.
And we've seen ESPN actually cover some of the international and get into some of the bigger tournaments and cover those. But there's a part of me, a lot of people I've read up talking about this have been pretty reductive, saying they're really just buying up the assets, or they're trying to buy some of their streaming services, equipment and production. But there's a part of me too that kind of sees the value in this, that kind of looks at it as a interesting opportunity for Activision, because all of those things outside of maybe in Twitch are these kind of walled gardens, and you really get the coverage leading up to it, but I don't really know, as somebody who doesn't follow that scene but occasionally will catch it on Twitch, I don't know where I'd go to kind of get that sort of commentary that somebody watching ESPN gets.
Or even something, again, this is, it's kind of, I kind of like your idea of them trying to take MLG as a concept and really try and make that not so much of a niche thing. Like, for example, football happens on Sundays, and then oh, well, it's CS:GO Tuesday. Everybody knows that. Like that, I think that could be something interesting, that they having all of that kind of united under. And I really feel like this is because MLG was. We should have done the research on this. Who was MLG owned by before? Were they independent?
I think they were independent.
Yeah. Again, I really do think this is. I honestly just think this is a very interesting move, just because I feel like having the backing of Activision. I mean, regardless of your thoughts, they know how to make big deals out of things. and can usually do it. And
they got
9
money.
times out of 10, they do it pretty well. So,
Yep. And here's the thing is, to me, the MLG with the logo that's kind of like League Gaming, that's kind of deceptive in some point because it makes it seem like all of those are going to fall under the same umbrella. But at least when I think of it, I see the opportunity for what ESPN does in the games happen, but then throughout the week they have commentary, they talk about it, they pick out highlights, they cover those things. They cover some of the smaller leagues, like, ESPN will cover the NBA D League, they cover drafts and smaller tournaments, they cover the small tennis tournaments between the 4 Grand Slams. So, it's hard to create something new like that or to really get that built up. But Activision does have deep pockets, and they're gonna be getting that Candy Crush money. So they've got the money printer now. So why not blow it on something cool? And I don't know. Like I said, I think a lot of people have been reductive about it, but I can see the value and some really interesting potential there.
I think I'm in the exact same boat with you.
Yeah, and I think that I wouldn't watch it a lot necessarily, but I can see a lot of people who'd be very interested, just like they watch a lot of video game content on YouTube, watching somebody talk about these games, critique it, get into analytics and analysis about what happened and these teams and these players, and talking about their gear and their rigs and stuff, and
bringing that to a wider audience. I think no one's really kind of doing that right now. So if that's the direction that they head with this, I haven't seen a lot of panic and doom and gloom about this, but I think that's certainly something to keep an eye on and could be very interesting down the road.
Absolutely. So yeah, Activision, good luck. Maybe calling it the ESPN of esports isn't the right idea, but I think what they're trying to do is an interesting concept, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of there.
This story gets the official wait and see / potentially excited stamp from Mike.
Speaking of wait and see, officially excited, maybe or maybe not going to catch on. You know what else about 2016 is going to be like that?
Oh.
Virtual reality.
Whoa.
Listeners of the podcast will remember that Stan and I have talked at length about virtual reality. Stan is not really convinced. I am very, very optimistic about the potential of VR. Mike, how do you feel about virtual reality?
Honestly, I haven't really had a lot of chances to demo it for myself. So I can't honestly, really speak to a lot of the, the first-hand experience. I just simply don't have it. But certainly when that opportunity presents itself again, I will definitely take advantage of that as that's going to be easier and easier to do as we, these things really start to gear up. Sorry. That was
ha. Is it something that interests you, though, as a concept?
A version of Res, then by God, bring on the VR, because Res is the best game ever.
Well, a lot of people know that 2016 is been slated the year that the VR is really going to start popping off, and we finally got news just recently about the final price tag for the Oculus Rift,
and
which
pre-orders are now live.
Yeah, pre-orders are now live, and it's looking like May is when people are going to be received them. Now, when it originally, the head of the company originally said ballpark $350. Mm-hmm. Take that price, double it, and remove the $100.
It's
$600.
$599 US dollars. $599 US dollars.
Thank you, Sony.
You're welcome.
So yes, the PlayStation 3 at launch cost $600. The Oculus Rift will as well cost $600. Now,
sorry, deep cuts. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. Hit the weak spot for massive damage.
Do they have that in VR? Please, finally.
Yeah, they have weak spots for massive damage.
Oh boy.
Yes. So, Now, original Oculus backers who backed at a certain level will actually be receiving a proper headset for free as part of their backing, but
I think that was
us plebs who
backing
didn't have that kind of pockets.
If you backed it enough to get a dev kit, I think.
I think so, something of that effect.
Yell at us in the comments.
But announced, they also did remind that some of the requirements for it, NVIDIA GTX 970, a processor of an Intel i5 or higher, 8 gigabytes of RAM, USB 3.0 ports, and Windows 74.
Whoa.
Windows 7,
That's gonna be a
64-bit
while.
operating system or newer. But I will say, included in the headset, you're also getting a microphone, sensors, and an Xbox One controller. So the sensors, microphone, and Xbox One controller you can really kind of contribute that to $100, $150 of the price right there. It's a little pricey, I think, but
I'm
not shocked.
No,
I'm not appalled.
I'm not either. Honestly, I wasn't going to buy into this first generation. I certainly don't have a system capable of running a rig capable of even sniffing that at this point. So it kind of really wasn't on my radar. I certainly am not opposed to it, and I'm certainly, I'm all for. When it comes to things in games, I want everything to work out well. I think more crazy cool stuff that's going on in gaming is good, as opposed to VR tanking in 1 year and we never talk about it again as a gaming or even non-gaming applications. So that price, I understand a lot of the outrage. I think it comes from people, just mistakes happen when you speak off the cuff and you say that it's going to be in the ballpark of $350 when you are still kind of in production here. But it's also just kind of a technology thing. I mean, the first generation of any big new piece of technology is always expensive. The first iPhone was expensive. The first PlayStation 3 was expensive. The first computers are expensive. That's just kind of how it works. I mean, those things are obviously going to fall in price. I think the big concern is going to be how deeply this pricing affects the install base, and then the kind of loop of developers don't want to make something that has no install base, so people don't buy it because there's nothing to use it with, so more developers don't want to make anything because there's no install base. That kind of cycle, that could be problematic if it gets kind of stuck in that, but I really don't. I feel like it'll probably still gain quite a lot of traction.
Yep, and and Palmer Luckey, that the head of Oculus, said that he apologized for it and said there were a few reasons why he said that, and B, the price is what it is. One, he kind of did that $350 ballpark because at the time when he was being questioned about that was when the $1,500 Oculus rumor was going around, and that was when people were also like, well, you're gonna have to buy this kind of PC, which your average person in the market for a piece of equipment like this is already going to have more than likely going to have the PC.
A system
have the PC required or pretty close to it, and wanted to really kind of calm the public's nerves. But then he also goes on to say that they've been iterating and developing on this constantly and adding new things to it and making it better, increasing the screen resolution, increasing the capabilities so that it's not a piece of hardware that becomes obsolete as quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think part of the reason why people are upset about this $600 price tag is we've become very hardware price sensitive and very much diluted with very cheap PCs over the last decade or so, expecting not to pay a lot for that kind of stuff, false prices for phones with subsidies and whatnot, never actually paying the true price for things, having consoles that are way underpriced and underpowered because it's more mass market friendly, and I think this is a device that is doing what it needs to do to be economical and really attract the right customer, really attract somebody who knows what they're getting into. Because I think the last thing you need is to make this really cheap, get into the hands of people who don't know what's going on, get them with the wrong kind of equipment, either have a bad experience or throw up all over themselves. So honestly, I think the $600 price tag is better off for them.
And certainly creating an install base for something so...
Like you said, more devs will get behind it.
Unique compared to anything that's really kind of come before was always going to be a challenge, despite whatever pricing that would have been applied here. So I think I'm going to imagine that they also are thinking very long term with this kind of pricing. I can guarantee you that Oculus 2, it's kind of like when the iPhone 5 comes out, the iPhone 4 gets way cheaper. So if you're really excited about Oculus and VR in general, you can just wait a little bit longer, and that pricing will definitely change. Because that's just the nature of the industry, and always has been.
Plus, right now, in another story, consumer analysts are reporting and speculating that the PS4's PlayStation VR headset is going to cost in the ballpark of $400 to $600. So it seems that
VR ain't cheap.
That is not VR ain't cheap. People talk about the Samsung Gear VR. That's your $1,000 phone getting placed into a headset. So it's not a cheap technology. It's a new technology. So I don't really see any problem with that, in my opinion.
Maybe everyone, I know it's only January, but maybe we were a little on the gun with saying 2016 is the year of VR. Maybe 2017 is the year where we really start to figure out VR. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But you did mention the Sony headset. That sounds... I think that has the kind of hubbub over the Oculus price point kind of creates an interesting, dynamic here. I mean, obviously Oculus has a very kind of specified, minimum requirements that they run everything through to make sure it's a workable experience. But I imagine that building a headset for something when you can predict exactly what the hardware is capable of on every single unit out there is a unique advantage. Knowing that, everyone who would be in the market for that has this power to run that.
And I was just doing a little Google searching while you were talking, and I found a few speculations as well on the HTC Vive, however you want to pronounce it. But they're talking in the 300 to 500 pounds, which is roughly translated, $500 to $700. So I think that's going to be the price point for these headsets over the next year or two. And I don't think that's a death sentence for them.
Absolutely not. I mean, like I said, the iPhone was $600 when it launched, and look where we are today.
And now the expensive you can get in some of the high end iPhones are $1,200, almost.
Emoji fueled spinning hell.
Hate machines.
It's okay.
Well, I think I'm not going to be in the market for one anytime soon, especially given my current situation, just life-wise. But I'm very interested in having that available to me in some capacity as a consumer, seeing other gamers have access to it, and just seeing people doing something new and unique with video games. Even if I don't necessarily get to experience it like I do my normal daily gaming consumption, I'm very glad that it's something that exists in the world for
Absolutely.
people to enjoy.
And again, the other big problem I think that smart minds, top men are already on is how do you sell something? How do you sell Oculus to someone who's never tried it before? Is that something you can even do?
I want to do a study to watch the cases of pink eye.
Uh-oh.
The increase around GameStop's trying to
Stop.
demo that.
God, stop. So that's going to be that's an interesting aspect as well. I mean, do you run a commercial for Oculus? Like, what is that? How does
Gear VR does? They have commercials.
That's a good point, yeah. So it'll be interesting.
So I don't know.
How they kind of navigate that. How do they get people into the Best Buy to even try it? How much does it cost? It's just another interesting kind of facet of all of this discussion. But again, I'm certain. I don't know if I'm going to be adopting with this at least first generation, but I'm definitely excited and very interested to see, where this goes and what it looks like in the future.
Absolutely. Speaking of the future,
It's a very cordial podcast
and video games. What?
We're a very cordial podcasting duo. Maybe
We
I
are,
need
we
to
are.
just
We-
argue
we-
about you.
You give me these really good toss-ups that I can just bat out of the park with good transitions until I get derailed by talking about how good your transitions are, which makes the transition not that great.
Anyways,
Shit, got meta there. So, do you want to talk about what happened to Steam over Break It All? I think that's kind of been talked to death. Shit went wonky.
Shit went wonky. They fixed it eventually. No one could really change anything.
Internet is hard.
Internet's hard, and sometimes shit breaks. So, the end.
Who'd have thunk it? Yeah. But so, I wanted to kind of touch on some of the... Oh, God. I'm breaking things over here. Excuse me. Some of the games that are coming out in 2016. I'm just going to go through a list of some of the top games that are coming out this year, and then maybe we can talk about some of the ones we are excited by, some of the ones we just know in our heart of hearts that are not going to come out this year because that's crazy talk. So let's see. Crackdown 3. Think it's a little late for new Crackdown, but who knows. Cuphead. Extremely excited for this game. Dark Souls 3. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Dishonored 2. Tom Clancy's The Division.
Nope.
I'm really excited about that if it ever comes out, but it probably won't.
There's
Far Cry Primal. Final Fantasy 15. Gears of War 4. Horizon Zero Dawn. God, I wish I had a PlayStation. The Last Guardian. The New Legend of Zelda for the Wii U. Mafia 3. Mass Effect Andromeda. Mirror's Edge Catalyst. No Man's Sky. Quantum Break. Scalebound.
That got delayed, but continue.
Did it? Of course it did. Street Fighter 5. Uncharted 4. Overwatch is also slated for this year as well as Titanfall 2.
And those are just some of the real big ones.
Also Persona 5.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it has an official release date, but I think it has been slated for 2016.
Noted.
So let's just get it out of the way right now. What's not coming out in 2016?
I don't think Mass Effect makes it. I think they'll take their time and push that back to early 2017.
Yep. I think I agree with you.
I'm not certain about The Division either. Destiny.
That game has been in development for the last I want to say 40 years.
It's just this just finally clicked for me. It's Tom Clancy's Destiny. That actually sounds really cool. I really want this now. Oh, I just made my want this.
I have since they talked about The Division. I really do want it. I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, I think that might get pushed back again. They're just gonna, it's just gonna be that game that's for Duke Nukem. Did I say that? That was terrible. I can't believe I just said that. I'm gonna go wash my mouth out with soap. Oh, another game. Stan would be completely pissed off if I didn't mention it, but the new Star Fox has also been pushed back to this year, and I do think that will finally come out. I hope it does, and I hope it doesn't suck, but it probably will. But
yeah,
hey,
oh jeez, who knows? Man.
So what games are you looking forward to most in 2016, Mike?
Some of my most anticipated ones. I mean, the list you read off just has. There are a bunch of cool big games happening this year. I mean, I'm very excited for The Last Guardian. I was a big fan of other Team Ecos other games. Horizon Zero Dawn seems like a very vast departure from the Killzone team. I'm very curious to see what it just seems like a really cool world and story and lore that I think will be really interesting and it just feels really fresh. Again, Dark Souls, Deus Ex, and Dishonored were all some of my favorite games of, I guess, the past couple of years, and iterations and just improvements on those I think are things I'm very interested to see. But those are kind of the obvious picks. I think one I've been really looking forward to that you did not mention was The Witness, which comes out in, I think, just towards the end of January here. It is the new game from Jonathan Blow, who developed Braid, which is a puzzle game, kind of a puzzle platformer. That was really very devious and had a very cool storyline and just very interesting mechanically and did things that not a lot of other games are doing. And The Witness just has a gorgeous looking art style. It's just more puzzles from the mind of Jonathan Blow. Just sounds like something I absolutely want right now. But I don't have to wait that long, so I am very excited
you're almost
to see
there.
what that game looks like and how it all works.
Very much so.
What's another big one on my radar? I think Mirror's Edge could be very interesting. The original one was, it was a very cool concept. I think ultimately it turned out it was an okay game. So I'm very interested to see a much more refined and kind of take on that gameplay, which I think is, again, very cool and not a lot of people do.
Yeah,
so.
I'm very excited they made another one.
Exactly.
I never played the first one. I watched a lot of it played. I think I played a demo or something one time, and I have it, and I've been meaning to play it. But I remember when it first came out, I thought it was gorgeous looking. I thought it was very unique, the whole parkour thing. But, it didn't do too well, and I was kind of sad to think that it might go away, because it's been a while since the original one came out. But hearing it get announced and seeing that they're sticking to it and they're bringing it back, hopefully they've done some things to kind of correct some of the things that came in lukewarm for it the first time. But I think they had a really solid base to build on, and I like I said, I'm just very glad that franchise came back, because I thought it was a unique idea, and I'm glad that they didn't let one not necessarily greatly received game scare them off.
Right. So that's one I think I'm very interested to see here. Let's see, and of course in 2016, I can't wait for the surprises. I think that's the best part here, especially with the VR being the wild card. You're gonna have I'm very. They had mentioned it, and I think in one of their podcasts at some point on Giant Bomb's platform. But I'm very excited to see what's this year's Rocket League, what's this year's Undertale. Those games that just come out of nowhere. I mean, Rocket League didn't come out of nowhere, but it's certainly, I think it surpassed almost everyone's expectations for just how big and how enjoyable that game is. So I'm that's the thing I'm most excited for, is just the things I have no idea that are coming. Which is a weird, dumb answer, but...
Weird thing to say. Yeah, for me, I'm optimistic that The Division will come out. I would be very happy if it did. I don't think it will, but if it does, awesome. The two games I'm most excited for, I think, are Cuphead, because ever since that E3 demo, that game just blew me away with its visual style. Just the way that it looked exactly like an old style Mickey cartoon. It just amazing. While I don't have a PlayStation 4, Horizon Zero Dawn I thought looked amazing. And No Man's Sky. I want that to come out this year, and I'm very interested to get my hands on that world and just bang on it and see what's there. Explore it, see what's going on, see if it holds up to the vision that they had, the thing that they've been telling us for all these years about what that game is and their vision for it, and hopefully it is as unique and expansive and endless as they say. There was one more that I thought that I was very excited for. I'm trying to remember what it is, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But one thing I did want to mention beforehand, I meant to mention this near the news before we got started. One game it here seems like we're not going to be hearing from this year is Assassin's Creed. They're going to be taking a year off finally. We've had 9 games in 8 years.
Woof.
So, I think that is a series that could very much use from a breather. And yes, they have multiple studios working on it, but even a 2-3 year turnaround for them is a lot. And I think it's very good that series, it sounds like they've corrected some courses with Assassin's Creed Syndicate being a surprisingly good game.
I honestly can't
a lot of people are talking about it.
The last one I played was 3, and I was like, well, man, I think that's it. That's it for me.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to see they're taking a year off. Some of you may be screaming at me, too, that Kingdom Hearts 3 is slated for this year. Shut up. I don't think it's going to happen, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Wow.
It's been too long.
Get
over it.
I guess.
Boom.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that... Anything else, Mike?
Well, let me go ahead and pull up our listener emails and listener questions. Oh wait, we don't have any because no one sent us anything. People, you should.
What a bummer!
I swear, if you listen to this, I will literally answer any question that appears in any of our inboxes. I'm saying that right now. I will do it.
So, if you would like Mike to answer your ridiculous bullshit question, or maybe completely serious one, hit us up in the comments here. Send us a message on Facebook at Unscripted Gaming, or follow us on Twitter at unscript_gaming, and send us a tweet, a message, DM, whatever the hell Twitter does. And get at us so Mike can answer your questions, because I think he just wants one. Just one. And you'll have a whole section of the show dedicated just to your question.
A whole 2-second section. It's still technically a section, so.
Yeah. So, get at us. Also, don't forget to subscribe, please, because I like it when you know when we have podcasts.
I like that, too.
Because you can listen to us more. Yeah. Well, I think that does it for Unscripted Gaming. I'm Josh.
Mike.
Peace.